If there's something the Far Cry franchise is well known for, it's the antagonists. I don't think there is any other franchise that even comes close to competing with the number of amazing antagonists the Far Cry franchise has created. But of course, some are clearly better than others, and the franchise has had some really high highs and some really low lows. First of all, we need to define how this list will be ranked. Do I rank every villain or just main villain? It begs the question, who is the main villain of certain games? Take Far Cry 3 for example. Is it Vaas, whom we interact with the most and who was the most prominent in all of the advertising? Or was it Hoyt because, well, he was the last boss? Or consider the original Far Cry where we killed the main baddie and then a plot twist. We are betrayed by an ally, so who is the main villain here? And most importantly in Far Cry 5 where there are 4 great antagonists in total in just that game. So to make it more simple, I will rank one antagonist from each game based on their influence and how most people categorize said character as the main antagonist in that game. So let's start the list to find out who is the best Far Cry antagonist of the Far Cry franchise.
Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
Oh boy. Where do I even start? The devs of Far Cry New Dawn had one main goal in their mind, which was to make the main antagonist a woman, a first for the franchise. And it's kinda ironic that the first time they did this, they literally created the spawn of Satan, and we got 2 of them. The reason why I ranked these characters so low is that I can take a bad villain. But these 2 antagonists are not just bad. They are straight up annoying and they honestly make me mad while playing, and I was also cringing at the same time. How is that even possible?
Everything's gonna be okay.
I'm sorry, I just don't like it when people lie to little kids.
I dreaded playing the main story because that means I had to see more of these 2 awful characters. It's as if the writers did not have faith in the characters because they feel like they have something they need to prove or own up to. You know the modern annoying stereotype how they need to say how badass they are, but their actions shows the complete opposite. It's just they're trying too much. And also, they are actively unredeemable as they are willing to kill kids by giving them a cooked grenade, killing defenseless people, stealing shit. And they are also slavers. Yeah, they lack any nuance or charisma, which is a must for a Far Cry villain. And then the game has the balls to provide the characters with a backstory to try and give them some sympathy. Which of course does not work here, but I just keep wondering what the hell were the writers trying to do with these characters, because they are not even in the same league as Vaas, Pagan or Joseph, who are playing chess, while Mickey and Lou are playing checkers. But the moment that just made me explode in anger was the ending boss fight. It's easily one of the worst boss fights I have ever played. And it's not even close. It's a bullet sponge fight and they have both huge health bars, they call in ads, and they alternate between 2 weapons depending on how close you are to them, and the fight took me around 15 minutes to finish, and I had the best weapons in the game by that point, and I was just so pissed and I just wanted to quit the game. There is no question about it, these 2 are simply the worst villains in the Far Cry franchise and it's not even close.
You want it? You want the stick? Here's the fucking stick.
Ah, Dr. Krieger, the first Far Cry villain. And honestly, this is gonna be a short one. Dr. Krieger is obviously based on a novel The Island of Dr. Moreau and is akin to a bad Bond villain. He has created mutants called Trigens and wants mankind to undergo the next evolution. You know the classic story. We have seen it 1,000 times, so evil? Check. Insane? Check. German evil scientist? Check. Bland antagonist? Check.
Jack, take a look into the future.
At number 7 we have Colonel Ike Sloan, who is the main baddie of Far Cry Blood Dragon and is the former commanding officer of the protagonist Sergeant Power cult. He's obviously not a fan of communists, as he wants to start a war due to the peace negotiations between the US and Russia, whom he calls the Red Menace. He's clearly an extremist, as he wants to start a worldwide conflict, which will transform the planet into a prehistoric kinda like state, where he can mold the future into whatever he deems fit, and create a new society with him at the top. It's a classic motivation for the ages. He's pretty badass, as he's able to take down a fully grown mecha blood dragon at the end of the game, and he does have some pretty good lines throughout the game.
Ooh, yeah. Anyone can draw the line. We'll be taken offline. No! I programmed you. I made you. I am your father. No!
But as the game is pretty damn short, there is barely any time to flesh him out, but maybe that was a joke, since it is a B sci-fi action movie. All in all, he did what he was there to do, and yeah, number 7 seems fitting.
Now that right there is a definition of insanity.
Ull and Batari. These two are dual antagonists just like Mickey and Lou, where neither is more important than the other. Yeah, I know I'm kinda cheating here, but seriously, you can't pick and choose between these two as the main antagonist, as they both have the same number of missions and screen time, so are they good antagonists? Yes and no. They have too little screen time, around 2 scenes before the final confrontation where we kill them, which makes it kinda hard to develop them, and it's a shame because there is something interesting about them, as Ull and the Udam are slowly dying to a unknown disease, fire in their heads or something. They don't know why, which is why they have turned to eating other people, as they believe that eating strong and healthier people will cure them. It's just too bad Ull never really expands on this topic. Batari and the Isilla are sun worshippers, and her scenes have some of the best visuals in the whole game. And I think their motivations are quite realistic, as yes, Solar Eclipse when you worship the sun, that's pretty darn scary. But what drags these two down the most are their utterly awful boss fights. They actually gave both of them huge health bars, and the fights themselves are trash because they will take such a long time, all while ads are running in constantly, and your beast companions are pretty much useless here. I don't know what they were thinking here. Oh yes, having to fire 100 arrows to kill one person seems realistic enough. Let's go with that. Ull is unable to communicate that well with you since, well, he's obviously a Neanderthal, while Batari on the other hand is more proficient than even your character when it comes to language, and it creates an interesting dynamic between these 3 tribes, and you can clearly see the differences between them. But I'm not sure if it would have just been better to combine these 2 antagonists and their factions into one and just focus on one throughout the game. Maybe the Wenya against one other tribe where you fight for the land of Oros. Overall, they are mediocre at best. And I see what they were going for, but it was just not enough for me, and I think they could have done something more interesting in this unique setting. At number 5 we have the talented Giancarlo Esposito. I mean Anton Castillo. And this is simply one of my main critiques of him. He plays himself. It does not feel like Anton Castillo, it's just Gus Fring. And this is the risk when you use famous Hollywood actors in your games, and especially if you motion cap them as well, and it feels like that so much in this game. The promotional material was great and it built hype, but I thought we were going to meet him a lot more in the game. But that's not the case here, because Danny only meets with him a total of 4 times throughout the game, and in 2 of them we don't really talk or interact with him, and this is especially weird because he has so many scenes overall, but it's only when he interacts with his son Diego. Seriously, Diego, the dictator's son, has more of a connection and relation to Danny than Danny has to Anton. What were they thinking? Danny just feels so unimportant in this story, and it feels more like Clara, the leader of Libertad, is Anton's nemesis and not you. It's only when there is like 1 hour left of the game that he recognizes Danny as being this very powerful person, and it's just so weird they went with this choice, as the relationship between the protagonist and antagonist is so essential in this series. Vaas, Pagan and Joseph are always treating you and the protagonist as important or chosen, and they always interact with you. Anton is complete opposite. You could just be a random person and he would not care. And if I'm going to be frank, I find Anton Castillo to be quite boring. I know what they were going for, how this evil cycle of his father being a dictator who was killed, and how he does not want the history to repeat itself as he does not want his son to die. But how his actions are exactly doing what he's trying to avoid. There is some good irony there, but I never feel any danger coming from him. He has the charisma, but he's so ridiculously evil, how he allows human experimentation, slavery, re-education camps, you name it, he has done it. But we never see him directly do any of this stuff. It does not help that Far Cry 6 has some of the worst side villains in it, where there is not a single memorable one, and there are 7 of these in total. It is a complete disaster, and it overall brings Anton down. Anton's motives to rebuild Paradise, they're okay, but I don't really see his long-term plan here for the future, and unlike so many other antagonists on this list, I never felt like I wanted to join his side. He was just too comically evil, and I could never get behind his cause. I think Ubisoft played it way too safe with his character, and instead of making him more morally grey or giving him a real motivation which is nuanced and not totally evil, they instead made him so laughably and comically evil that no one can mistake him for it. And it's also tragic that they did not let Esposito do a better performance with a better script. And that is why Anton Castillo is at number 5.
I was acting. Or was I?
This one is gonna be a bit controversial, but at number 4 we have a surprising name, the Jackal from Far Cry 2. I strongly believe that the Jackal is probably the most underrated Far Cry antagonist in this series. He might not be as famous as other antagonists like Vaas, Pagan or Joseph, but to me, he's probably the most profound character to analyze, because while other characters do have a tangible impact when you meet them, as they just completely take over the scene and screen with fantastic writing and performances by their actors. But the issue for me is that many of them tend to lack any depth, at least to the degree that makes the player really think on different topics such as morality. And the Jackal, on the other hand, is frankly, he's not that good of a villain. The writing is so and so, and he's not memorable at all in his scenes, but he does something that no other Far Cry antagonist, or rarely any antagonist in general, which is that he develops as a character alongside you throughout the game, as most antagonists tend to be set in stone from the start until the game is finished. But the Jackal is the opposite of that. He changes his perspective and views alongside you throughout the game, where he slowly starts to understand and regret the scale of atrocities that he has created by smuggling weapons to fund the civil war. At the end, his morals have completely changed, and he offers you to aid in saving the country's civilians. The Jackal sees this war and all the people actively fighting in it as a form of cancer that will keep on taking and taking, but it will never be enough, and when they are gone, someone else will take their place as they are infected too with the same disease. Every cell and every person involved in the war is infected. The only solution is to quarantine the patients. and how the ones who are ultimately paying the price for all of this are the innocent civilians who are not actively participating in the war, and this becomes much more interesting as there is a rumor in the game that the Jackal has cancer, which explains why he's acting so differently. And we know that many people, when they get this information, they completely change their whole worldview. And this is what the Jackal did, as he started to associate the cancer he has in his own body to what he and so many others have done to the other people in the country, and how the Jackal and the soldiers are the same, which is why he wants to save the people, but he also knows that he must die because he is part of that cancer, both physically and metaphorically. The one scene that makes me truly appreciate this character was during the last scene, as the last native civilians are trying to escape to the neighboring countries. The Jackal gives you a choice, whether to take the briefcase full of diamonds and see to it that the border guards will be bribed with these diamonds to let the refugees in, and after that put a bullet in your head to clean the last slate. And I 100% believe the Jackal would do this. Because he just wants it all to end, to take accountability for all the death and destruction he has caused, and he sees himself as part of this cancer that spreads and kills anything that it touches, and how this action will cleanse his soul, and also yours. So is the Jackal evil? No. Is he a good person? No. He's a flawed human with a destructive mindset towards human nature. He's trying to reprimand all the suffering he has caused and offers you the same choice to cleanse your soul. Because remember, you have also killed so many people throughout the game. The Jackal might not be the most well-known Far Cry antagonist, but he's sure the most human out of all of them.
You can't break a man the way you break a dog or a horse. The harder you beat a man, the taller he stands. To break a man's will, to break his spirit, you have to break his mind.
Well, here we are at the top 3. And at this point, it's anyone's game. Because every list has in their top 3s either Vaas, Pagan or Joseph. The only difference is the order. And for me, Vaas gets the short end of the stick. I fully recognize the immense impact Vaas has had on the Far Cry franchise, but also on gaming as a whole. And it's not that Vaas is a bad antagonist, it's just that the other two are slightly better. Vaas as a character is interesting, as he symbolizes what happens to everyone on Rook Island when they go completely crazy if they stay here for too long. He's trying to stave off the insanity, be it with drugs, chaos or violence, and it's this insanity that makes Vaas so interesting. The ability to completely take over a scene where he always starts to monologue about his own personal experiences about things that either intrigue him or irritates him. One of the main themes of the game is the duality between Vaas and Jason, as both improve the other one's performance. How Vaas is the main reason Jason became such a monster by the end, because he killed his brother and set him on his path. Jason's journey is also a reflection of Vaas in many ways. Throughout the game we see Jason and Vaas shift positions with each other, and how Jason is walking the same path as Vaas used to do. And the main culprit of this path is Citra, whom also shaped Vaas's character into what he became. The relationship between Vaas and Citra is complicated, as he hints that she manipulated him into doing so much awful shit, like killing a person for the first time, how he was willing to do anything for her, but it was never enough for her, and that he figured out what would happen to him if he became her ultimate warrior. He slowly starts to realize that Jason is on the same path and what will happen to him if he follows said path. And the last scene we get with Vaas is wonderful and mysterious, as he speaks in such a different tone. It's so soft compared to the over-aggressive, over-the-top behavior we have seen before, where he seemingly wants Jason to kill him. It's also this dialogue how he wants it all to end, as he starts to shout out Bible verses, how he wants to die as a martyr, and he simply accepts being killed as he does not even try to defend himself. I believe that he was trying to save Jason from Citra's influence, as we can hear him in Jason's head afterwards warning him of her. However, what holds Vaas back from me is that I don't feel there is necessarily that much depth to him. I see how insane he is, the monologues regarding the definition of insanity, they're all great, but I just don't understand why he's exactly doing all of this. What are his motives? What is the end goal? Maybe he has none. He's just insane and does whatever he wants. And many people say that Vaas was underutilized and should have been in the game more, but I personally believe that's precisely why he's such a great character. It's quality over quantity. He stands out so much more because he's not in the game that much, and when he shows up, it's always a treat. And overall though, Vaas is an excellent villain, and to this date, one of the most famous and greatest villains of all time. And it feels like many games have tried to copy him but failed tremendously, because they don't understand what made him great in the first place.
Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
Rarely has a game series had such an incredible deep character as Pagan Min. You can analyze him for days because you understand his backstory, motivations and morals, yet there is so much still hidden behind his mysterious persona. He is always so sure of himself in dialogues, like he is always in a position of power, holding all the cards. He can go from calm as the sea to a raging psycho on the fly, especially when AJ's safety is involved, as he kills the guard during the intro.
I hate when things get out of control. One fucking shot, but you couldn't fucking do that!
Pagan is an absolute narcissist. I mean, come on. The man built a literal statue of himself in solid gold and becomes furious when you blow it up. He even made the country's religion about himself. It's clear how much of a narcissist he is when he talks about the boils on his face.
Now I find myself dancing my own boils. Gary! Bring me some gauze and some fucking antiseptic ointment!
He really cares about his appearance, be it from his hairstyle to his outlandishly colorful suits. It's so eye-catching and it just screams, look at me. I don't know how Troy Baker did it, but there is just something that makes me unable to hate Pagan. He's an utterly terrible person who has done some of the vilest shit you can imagine, but he is so charismatic, which makes me unable to fully hate him. But I have seen many people say stuff like, oh, Pagan was the good guy in the game. No, he was not the good guy. The main reason why people think so is because of his personality and how he treats AJ and us. Yes, Pagan is probably the lesser evil compared to Sabal and Amita, but he's not a good person. Pagan gave power and control to people like Deplore and Yuma, who has kidnapped, tortured and killed so many innocent people. Pagan is still responsible for giving them such power and influence. And the most vile act Pagan has committed was that he killed the previous heir to the throne, who was just a kid, just so he could take the throne for himself. But he's a good guy. Okay. He becomes so much more of an interesting person as the game goes on, as more of AJ's past about his parents and half-sister is revealed, as Pagan explains how and why he's such a complicated person, as he became softer and slightly better after he met Ishwari, AJ's mother. He probably tried to be a better man as he finally had someone he loved and whom he wanted to live with for the rest of his life, especially after Lakshmana was born. Pagan cares an awful lot about AJ, whom he probably sees as his son. He is willing to give up all the power and influence to give over to AJ, and this whole game was about giving AJ the keys to the kingdom and to teach him how to rule, and in AJ he probably saw a bit of Ishwari, the love of his life, in him. And I do believe he wanted to make Kirat better, but not for himself but for Ishwari. But as Pagan says, Kirat is ruinous, and it's almost as if the country is cursed to forever be at war with each other as it was before and after Pagan. It's rare to have a main antagonist who does not want to hurt you, but I can empathize with Pagan when he talks about how he came out a different man after laying Lakshmana's ashes to rest, and he let his rage ravage Kirat, and I think most people would have done the same if their infant daughter was murdered. But after some time, Pagan realized that he was only using Lakshmana's death as an excuse to do whatever he wanted, so he became a recluse. But after hearing about Ishwari's death and the inevitable arrival of AJ, he suddenly sprang back to life. His life started to have meaning once again. So why did Pagan not tell AJ on the radio before about him being the heir to the throne, as that was the real ending all along? Well, if you stay at the table and get the secret ending, he will fly you to Lakshmana so you can scatter your mother's ashes, and afterwards you go off to shoot some guns and he's going to teach AJ how to rule. Now, why does he never mention that part about giving Kirat to you if you leave? Well, it's simple. Pagan is a sadistic and prideful son of a bitch, and he probably took AJ leaving the dinner table as a slight towards his pride, and he wanted AJ to find out for himself how awful the so-called good people are, and to make him strong and fit to rule the country, because AJ would be naive and weak if he didn't go through this. But after AJ has done the whole journey and he is now at the end, he has, according to Pagan, become a much stronger and different person who is now capable of ruling the country. Overall, Pagan Min is an awesome antagonist, and he's the one that you would probably side with compared to all the other antagonists on this list. He's the one that actually cares about your well-being, he's guiding you, he's giving you tips, and he wants the best for you. And throughout the game, he feels more like an ally rather than an enemy. Even if the means of showing his love for AJ is not always the best. But the character is so immensely interesting to analyze. And with that, let's get to number 1.
Now, RJ, I know this is hard, but consider this tough love, prison love. After all, you have a suite with a spectacular view.
Joseph Seed is one of the newer Far Cry antagonists, but man, Ubisoft hit it out of the park with this one. For one simple reason, they made Joseph feel like the most human out of every other antagonist, as he actually has goals that you can believe in and relate to. And it's probably the game that nails down the dilemma whether or not you did the right or wrong thing as you try to stop the cult here. I think Ubisoft managed to take their previous experience of other antagonists, but still managed to make Joseph feel unique, and he's something of the best of both worlds here. Joseph, who is this cult leader who believes that the world is going to end and you need to arrest him. But the more you play the game, the more you think that maybe this guy is not that insane after all. Joseph's goal is to create a hard reset of humanity, as he wants a clean slate and everyone to live with nature. Because Joseph despises the current world, the politics, the nature of man, how we have gone from loving each other to hating each other. He believes that it's the current world that caused this nuclear destruction, and he's right. So he wants to create a naturalist society, so we don't make the same mistakes all over again. What's unique with Far Cry 5 is that Joseph is the first antagonist to speak directly to us the player and not the character we play. As throughout the game, Joseph will have moments where he performs eulogies, which triggers each time one of his siblings die and one before the final confrontation. And these are some of my favorite scenes with Joseph, as they humanize him so much and they make him seem so real, because we have barely seen any emotions from Joseph at all up until this point. And especially the last one where we see such raw emotions from him.
Another seal has been opened. My family, my brothers, my sisters, they've been taken from me by a snake in the garden. I thought I knew God's plan. But I was wrong. I was blind.
I don't know many other games where we actually see the main antagonist cry. It makes him so much more interesting, as you can see how much he truly loved his siblings, and having to watch them die, it's heartbreaking for him. And it also makes him question his faith in God and his plan. And what most people remember from Joseph is the ending. It holds so much symbolism. As at the start of the game, you had a choice to either walk away or arrest Joseph, yet you refused to walk away. And here we are once again at the end, and Joseph is giving you the same choice as before. And it also asks the questions if all of this was worth it. Have you killed enough? Joseph is willing to let you go, he's willing to forgive you. After you have already killed all of his family members that he loved so much. Joseph could have easily killed you at any point in the game. Just think about it. He saved you from John drowning you, he told the three of them specifically not to kill you. So the question is, if you will repay his gratitude to the same extent, and if you decide not to leave, he feels immensely insulted. Now he keeps on shouting at you in the boss fight, and some of these lines are really eerily, especially towards the end when he shouts this.
Down, hey, take him down hard! You don't know what you're doing! Only I can save you! You have to believe me!
And we have never seen Joseph act like this desperately, as he fully believes that you are going to destroy the world and he wants to stop it. And when we defeat him, the nukes drop, and he was right all along. And when driving away and crashing into a tree, Joseph saves you once again and drags you down to the bunker. He's not willing to let you die. So although Joseph is a terrible person who has killed, tortured, scammed, done every single thing on the list of bad things, and even killing his own daughter, he's still not a complete monster, as he is still willing to forgive you for everything you have done. And it's also the first ending in the Far Cry franchise where you actually lose. Joseph quote-unquote wins, and it's easily the darkest and most controversial ending of the franchise. So imagine yourself for a second if you were Joseph. You hear a voice in your head that says that the world is going to end, and maybe even showing it to you. Imagine being Joseph and you 100% believe it's going to happen, yet no one is willing to believe in you and instead just sees you as a lunatic, as most of us saw him at the start of the game. And seriously, how would you be able to convince people that the world is going to end? You can't. Which is why he created the project at Eden's Gate, so he could get followers who would trust in his words. He brought in a lot of people who were broken, lost, thrown away by society, and he gave them a purpose, a hope for a better future, a future where they would all be happy. So he gathered his brothers and faith, and instead of helping them with their problems, he used them for his own selfish needs, or what he thought was the greater good. So again, it makes sense why he's doing all of this. It's also interesting how Joseph accuses us of having the sin of pride, which is the deadliest sin, when in retrospective, Joseph's sin is pride, as he is too proud to realize that his faith in God does not mean he has to do all of this evil stuff. He fails to see any other solution other than blind devotion to God. So in the end, Joseph made all the wrong decisions for the right reasons. He wanted to save people from the apocalypse, but in a way, Joseph's vision led him on the path to create the cult, which also put him on the path of creating the apocalypse in the first place. So in a way, him creating the cult, trying to protect themselves from the upcoming apocalypse, was actually the main reason why it even started, because seriously, if he never started the cult, we and the deputy would never have come here, and we would never have opened the 7 seals, which means the apocalypse would never have happened. And ultimately, just like you, he refused to give up his pride, and I think it's tragic that Joseph is so caught up in this vision that God showed him that he does not understand that he, just like the deputy, are just as responsible, if not more, for creating the apocalypse, because without Joseph starting the cult, no end of the world. And some endpoints. Joseph is also backed up by 3 tremendously great side villains. His family, John, Jacob and Faith Seed. Each one of them could easily have been a main antagonist in their own games. The best part is how they also carry up Joseph as a better villain, as they share his beliefs and they feel more like an extension of Joseph's mind, like he's always there. We get a closer understanding of his character, what he wants to do, why do these people follow him, and even hints what the ending is going to be. What makes Joseph the best antagonist to me is quite simple. And it's what makes him stand out from all other antagonists in the franchise. He truly believes in something, and he stands by it, regardless of all the worst pain and suffering a man can handle, and this is what makes Joseph feel so human. He has a wide array of emotions and acts as such. which is such a breath of fresh air compared to previous antagonists. While Pagan, Vaas and Castillo fights for their own selfish desires, Joseph fights for a cause. It's something he believes in so much that he is willing to die for it, and to me, it's simply quite beautiful. And it's something other antagonists lack, and this is why Joseph is the greatest Far Cry villain to me.
You judge me. You judge us. The things that we've done.
Thank you so much for watching, and if you agree or disagree with the list, please feel free to comment down below. I would also like to know your Far Cry antagonist ranking down in the comment section. Well, that's all for now. Have a good one, guys.
What is this? A bad spy movie?